Walk into any supermarket in the world. You'll see hundreds of different products, hundreds of different names, logos, packaging designs. It feels like a free market, like real competition, like you're choosing between dozens of independent companies all fighting for your business. That feeling is completely manufactured. Most of what fills those shelves, the cereal, the shampoo, the yogurt, the soap, the baby food, the dog food, the bottled water, is owned by fewer than a dozen companies. They don't share the same logo. They don't want you to know they're connected. The variety you see is a strategy, not a reality, and the companies behind it have been building this quietly for over a century. Here's a question most people can't answer. What do Tide, Pampers, Gillette, Oral-B, Febreze, Crest, Pantene, Bounty, and Vicks have in common? They are all the same company. Procter & Gamble was founded in 1837 as a soap and candle business in Cincinnati, Ohio. 2 men, 1 small factory, 1 city. Today, P&G operates in roughly 70 countries and generates over $82 billion in annual revenue. Not from one product, from 65 brands so deeply embedded in daily life that most households use at least one P&G product before they've even had breakfast. The strategy was never to build the biggest brand. It was to own the entire category. Laundry detergent, P&G has Tide & Gain, razors, Gillette, and Venus. Baby care, Pampers, Oral Care, Crest, and Oral-B. You think you're choosing between competitors. You're choosing between products owned by the same boardroom. Most people think Nestlé makes chocolate. That's like saying Amazon sells books. Nestlé is the largest food and beverage company on Earth, and the part that genuinely unsettles people when they learn it for the first time, Nestlé owns your water. Perrier, San Pellegrino, Poland Spring, Deer Park, Ozarka, Pure Life, 6 different brands, different bottles, different price points, different marketing. One company controlling the water aisle from the budget shelf to the premium shelf, top to bottom. But water is barely the beginning. Nestlé owns Kit Kat, Nescafé, Gerber Baby Food, Purina Pet Food, Maggi Soups, Haagen-Dazs, and over 2,000 brands in total across 186 countries. It has 29 individual brands that each generate over $1 billion a year on their own. Here's the detail that reframes everything. Nestlé doesn't just sell products. It positions itself at the moments in life when people are least likely to shop around. Newborn babies, sick days, elderly care, pet ownership. The company understood long before anyone else that loyalty built in vulnerable moments lasts a lifetime. Unilever sells roughly 400 brands across 190 countries. On any given day, approximately 2 billion people use one of its products. That isn't marketing language. That is half the human population. Dove, Axe, Lipton, Ben & Jerry's, Vaseline, Hellmann's, Knorr, Tresemme, Domestos, Comfort. The list goes on for pages. But here is what makes Unilever's dominance different. It doesn't just own the product. It owns the story the product tells about you. Dove sells self-confidence. Ben & Jerry's sells values. Axe sells social status. Each brand speaks to a completely different consumer who believes they are making an independent, identity-driven choice. They are all buying from the same company in Rotterdam. Unilever understood something that most businesses never figure out. People don't resist monopolies when the monopoly is disguised as self-expression. Give someone a brand that feels like a reflection of who they are, and they will defend it like it belongs to them. PepsiCo is not a drinks company. That is the single biggest mistake people make when they think about what PepsiCo actually is. Yes, it makes Pepsi. It also makes Mountain Dew, Gatorade, Tropicana, and 7-Up. But the beverage business is almost a distraction from where PepsiCo's real power lives. In the snack aisle, Lay's, Doritos, Cheetos, Tostitos, Fritos, Ruffles, Quaker Oats, Sabra Hummus, Sun Chips. 22 individual brands at PepsiCo each generate over $1 billion in retail sales every year. Here is the business insight that explains everything. Beverages are a purchase. Snacks are a habit. You decide to buy a soda. You reach into a bag of chips without thinking. PepsiCo didn't build a snack portfolio by accident. It built one because habitual spending is the most reliable spending on earth. And once a snack is in your house, it gets finished and then it gets replaced automatically on the next shopping trip without a second thought. The Frito-Lay merger in 1965 was the move that changed everything. Wall Street thought it was strange at the time. 60 years later, the snack division consistently outperforms the beverages that gave the company its name. Everything discussed so far controls what you buy when you're not thinking. LVMH controls what you buy when you're trying to say something about yourself. Louis Vuitton, Dior, Givenchy, Bulgari, Tag Heuer, Moet and Chandon, Dom Perignon, Hennessy, Sephora, Tiffany & Co. 75 brands. One company, all of them carrying the same invisible message: you have arrived. Bernard Arnault built LVMH into the largest luxury group in the world by understanding one thing most people find uncomfortable to admit. Luxury isn't about quality, it's about exclusion. The product is the signal, the purchase is the announcement. And once a brand carries that signal convincingly, the margin becomes almost unlimited. A Louis Vuitton bag does not cost dramatically more to produce than a non-luxury equivalent. The difference between the cost and the price is what Arnault sells. He sells the gap itself. LVMH generated nearly 87 billion euros in revenue in 2023. Not by making products better, by making them mean more. Most of the companies in this video answer to shareholders. Mars does not. Mars Incorporated is privately owned. No stock price, no quarterly earnings call, no Wall Street analyst telling them what to do. The Mars family has run it since 1911 and has kept it almost entirely out of the public eye for over a century. That invisibility is not accidental. It is the business model, and underneath that silence sits one of the most staggering brand portfolios ever assembled. Snickers, M and Ms. Twix, Skittles, Starburst, Wrigley's Gum, Extra Orbit. But here is where it gets genuinely surprising. Mars is also one of the largest pet food companies on Earth. Pedigree, Whiskas, Royal Canin, IAMS, Sheba, Cesar. The same company that makes the chocolate bar in your pocket feeds roughly 1 in 3 domestic pets in the world. Mars generates an estimated $45 billion in annual revenue. Estimated because they don't have to tell anyone the real number. Here is what makes this extraordinary. Every other company in this video competes publicly, reports profits, faces scrutiny. Mars just quietly sells you candy and feeds your dog, decade after decade, with no pressure, no exposure, and no obligation to explain itself to anyone. That is not just a business. That is a dynasty. Walk down the beauty aisle and pick up the cheapest mascara, then walk to the department store and pick up the most expensive serum. Chances are both came from the same company. L'Oreal is the largest cosmetics company in the world, and its strategy is unlike anything else in consumer goods. It doesn't just own one end of the beauty market. It owns every end simultaneously, at every price point, for every consumer who has ever stood in front of a mirror. Maybelline is for the teenager buying her first makeup. Garnier is for the practical buyer who wants results without paying much. L'Oréal Paris sits in the middle, aspirational but accessible. Then Lancôme and Kérastase move into premium territory. And at the very top, La Mer and Giorgio Armani Beauty sit behind glass counters for the customer who believes the price itself is part of the product. 37 brands, 150 countries, over $40 billion in annual revenue. But the detail that reframes everything is this: L'Oréal owns the research. The same laboratories that develop the core ingredient in a $400 face cream often supply a version of that same ingredient to a product sitting in a $12 drugstore bottle. The science is shared. The storytelling is what changes the price. L'Oréal understood before anyone else that in beauty, the feeling of exclusivity is the product, and it sells that feeling at every income level without any of those customers realizing they're all shopping in the same building. Think about the last beer you drank. Maybe it felt local, craft, independent, like it came from somewhere real, made by someone who cared. It almost certainly didn't. Anheuser-Busch InBev is the largest beer company in the world by a distance that is almost difficult to comprehend. Budweiser, Corona, Stella Artois, Beck's, Hoegaarden, Leffe, Modelo, Michelob Ultra, Castle, Victoria Bitter. Over 500 brands across more than 50 countries. Roughly 1 in every 4 beers consumed anywhere on Earth was made by AB InBev. The company was built through one of the most aggressive acquisition strategies in corporate history. Every time a regional beer felt too independent, too popular, too threatening, AB InBev bought it, then kept the local name, kept the local story, kept the local imagery, and simply moved the profits to headquarters in Leuven, Belgium. Here's the number that makes the strategy concrete. AB InBev generates over $59 billion in annual revenue, not by brewing better beer, by buying the perception of variety and leaving the labels exactly where they were. There is a bar somewhere right now where 2 people are arguing about which local beer is better. Neither of them knows they are arguing about 2 products owned by the same Belgian corporation. The argument was the point. Keep people loyal to the label, and they never think to look at who signed the check. So here is what is actually happening every time you walk into a store. Procter Gamble controls your bathroom. Nestlé controls your kitchen. Unilever controls your identity. PepsiCo controls your snack habits. LVMH controls your aspirations. Mars controls your treats and your pets. L'Oreal controls your mirror. AB InBev controls your Friday night. And not one of them wants you thinking about any of this. The brands are designed to feel personal, local, independent, and chosen. The corporate names stay invisible on purpose. You have never once opened a bottle of Pantene and thought about Cincinnati. You have never cracked open a Corona and thought about Belgium. That invisibility is the whole strategy, because a company you don't see is a company you can never choose to leave. You think you switched brands. You stayed in the same building. The supermarket aisle isn't a marketplace, it's a stage. The competition is choreographed, and the audience, the shopper with the cart, was never meant to see behind the curtain. Which one surprised you most? The dynasty that never had to answer to anyone? The beauty empire selling the same formula at 17 different prices? Or the beer company that turned local pride into a global spreadsheet? Subscribe for more. You will never walk through a supermarket the same way again.